Welcome to the Joe Show. Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Joe Rayo from the home base here in Putnam Valley. As you are probably aware, Joe Chaffee and I decided that we would pass on doing a Joe and Joe weather show tonight just to give ourselves a break. But it's a little bit after 8 o'clock tonight, and not much is happening. So, what the heck? I thought I'd just come on for a few minutes and chat with all of you about what really is kind of a nothing weather pattern. We're not seeing very much of anything in terms of any kind of major changes. It has been certainly cold out there tonight. It's been cold the last couple of nights. And in fact, we have also had quite a bit of snow, not up here or down here, but up in upstate New York around the Tug Hill Plateau area, Watertown, New York, Barnes Corners. They've had something like 4 feet of snow from lake effect. And as far as snowfall is concerned across much of western and upstate New York, there has been quite a bit over the last day or two, again, due to the cold winds flowing over the wide open Great Lakes. At this time of the year, usually the Great Lakes are pretty well frozen over, but with the lack of any really prolonged cold air and the fact that the lakes have been unfrozen for quite some time, for much of this upcoming winter, this shot of cold air that flowed over them today and yesterday has led to tremendous snowfall amounts again in the lee of the lake area. Um, for us, believe it or not, eastern Long Island before daybreak this morning at the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Upton, New York, which is near Brookhaven, they had a few snow flurries, and that was significant from this standpoint. It was the first time that they saw snow all of this month in eastern Long Island, in the Brookhaven area. They could have gone through this entire month without seeing a single snowflake. Central Park has had a trace of snow so far this month, but um, it has been incredible in terms of the lack of any snow in the I-95 corridor. Um, at Central Park, we are probably going to see, well, it's almost a dead certainty now. We've got one more day in February, tomorrow being the bisextile or the leap day, a once in 4 year event. So we'll extend this month of February for one more day. But it is practically locked and loaded that all we're going to see at Central Park this month of February is just a trace of snow, an event that has only happened 4 other times back in the winter of 2002, 1981, 1971, and 1938. And once we actually had no snow for the entire month, that was the El Nino winter of February 1998. So nothing in terms of snowfall now for February, aside from a few snowflakes. And as far as what we can anticipate for March, I must tell you that it doesn't look all that great, at least for the first half and maybe even for most of the month. The Climate Prediction Center came out with their experimental 3 to 4 week probability of temperature and precipitation prog. And would you believe that the prognosis for the third and fourth week, in other words, taking us right on through the middle and latter part of March, this is according now to NOAA's Climate Prediction Center, indicating that we are going to have 60 to 70% probability of above normal temperatures and also below normal precipitation. Can you believe it? Now, this is if we don't get any snow in March or even just a trace of snow, there's only been one other time that that's happened at Central Park, and that was back in the winter of 2002. We had a trace of snow in February, and we only had a trace of snow in March. That has only happened once in 150 years of records at Central Park and or at New York City, and we may very well challenge that record come this upcoming month. Again, really, really amazing. Anyway, for overnight tonight, the outlook from yours truly, I'm calling for a partly to mostly cloudy sky with temperatures overnight tonight across the lower Hudson Valley between 20 and 27 degrees. And then for tomorrow, I think we're going to see more clouds and sun. The winds, which have been fierce the last 24 hours, are not going to be quite as strong, but still rather gusty tomorrow, maybe gusts to over 20 miles an hour. And the temperature tomorrow remaining in the 30s, 30 to 38 degrees. And again, more clouds and sun. So not a great day to be out and about. As far as Sunday, we'll probably see brighter skies, lots of sunshine. Temperatures on Sunday, not as cold, 35 to 43. And then here it comes. And this is something I'm sure that a lot of you snow lovers don't want to hear. A big jump in the temperature for the early part of next week. I'm thinking that on Monday, we're going to see sun giving way to clouds. It should be a dry day, but the temperature going up to 52 degrees on average in the lower Hudson Valley. Normal high temperature at this time of the year in the Hudson Valley, lower Hudson Valley, is 45. So 52 when we get to Monday. We're only getting started. On Tuesday, I'm thinking that we may see a couple of showers late in the day, the high 56. And then Wednesday, it's going to be a function of how much sunshine we can manage. We might see a shower or two early in the day on Wednesday. If we can break the clouds enough, temperatures on Wednesday of next week, hump day, could very well hit or exceed 60 degrees. Not bad or not good, depending upon your perspective, point of view. Then I think we're going to turn windy and a bit chillier for Thursday and Friday. We'll see temperatures drop back to around 50 or so on Thursday of next week and back into the 40s when we get to next week on Friday. So again, not a very good outlook if you are a winter weather or snow lover in the foreseeable days here in the tri-state metropolitan area. And again, just how ironic is it that here we are with no snow whatsoever, and all you have to do is just take a drive to the north, maybe 3 or 4 hours north or northwest, and you'll have all the snow that you want with amounts of 2 and 3, and as I said, up in the Tug Hill Plateau area, maybe as much as 4 feet of snow. Incredible, just incredible. What a dichotomy from no snow, feast and famine, to as much snow as you want. Let's check out the chat board tonight and see who is on. We have James, and I mentioned yesterday about the Venus-Moon configuration, where Venus and the Moon were kind of like side by side as they dropped on down into the western sky, making for a very beautiful sight, celestial sight. And James says, I was able to see Venus yesterday. Well, you obviously had a good view. Skies were mostly clear where you were. Elijah Waba saying snowing right now in Manalapan, New Jersey, some light lake effect going on. Yeah, it would not be surprising if we did get some flakes around. I went pretty much cloudy tonight, partly to mostly cloudy. Didn't call for very much in the way of any precipitation. In fact, if you do a consensus between the GFS and NAM, or North American Prog, you get less than 1% probability of any precipitation for tonight. However, as Elijah just mentioned, those winds have been so very strong, they've actually blown flurries, lake effect flurries, all the way down on a west-northwesterly flow, all the way down into our neck of the woods. So if you see a few flakes in the air tonight, I guess if you're a snow lover especially, that's just a cheap thrill, so to speak. Tim Beltman just said, just got home from my grandma's wake. Sorry to hear about that, Tim. And supposed to be cold and windy tomorrow for her funeral. Jeffrey Marrow says, hey there. Okay, yep. Hi to you. Nashla is on. Nashla Musa, hi everyone. Jeffrey Marrow says hi to her. And sorry to hear about your grandmother, Tim. My grandmother, just to let you know that I empathize here. My parents divorced in the 1960s, and my mom took my sister and I and we moved in with her parents, my grandparents, and my grandparents, my grandfather, and especially my grandmother, were kind of like surrogate parents. And I got to be very close to my grandmother, and she only lived to be 66. She unfortunately contracted cancer and passed away in the mid 70s. But a very, very important person in my life. All grandparents should be very important in all of our lives. So again, I'm sorry to hear about your grandma, and rest in peace, I guess. As far as David Carter is concerned, he wrote that he too saw the beautiful crescent moon and Venus out back at 6 p.m. tonight. Of course, tonight, if you saw them, it was not like last night where they were kind of in a line side by side. Tonight, the moon was much higher up above and to the left of Venus because the moon circling in its orbit around the Earth moves much faster in the sky as opposed to Venus, which is far more distant out in space. But I'm sure they made for a very pretty scene tonight as well. And Tim Veltman says she was almost 98. His grandmother was almost 98 years old. Tim, she lived a good long life, and she was the mother of 11 kids. Oh boy, I tell you. Well, she certainly lived a very hearty life. That is for sure. William Huber, hi to you. Let's see who else is on here tonight. Toy Maker Larry, 1955. Joe, I can't take it anymore. I may buy a snowmaking machine. Larry from Greene County. You know what, Larry? I worked for a guy by the name of Todd Gross. Some of you may be aware of who Todd is. He was my boss at a private weather company back in the 70s and 80s. And he was also, by the way, those of you who saw the movie A Perfect Storm, if you remember the Boston TV weatherman who was going crazy over the developing storm off of Cape Cod, The Perfect Storm, that was the actor who was portraying that TV meteorologist. That was supposed to be Todd Gross, who was on television in Boston for more than 20 years. Now I think Todd is down in Florida. I think he's retired or semi-retired. But in any case, Todd was a big snow lover, and just like you, he got to the point where he wanted to see snow so much that he actually did get a snowmaking machine and used to make snow in his backyard. So if you like it, that's I guess what you got to do, right? Let's see. David Carter had flurries last night briefly, and about 30 minutes of very light snow yesterday around midday. Bobby Livingsworth said he got a heavy dusting of snow overnight where he was. Dennis Cassia, how you doing, Dennis? And let's see. Was not able to observe the moon. There was some snow showers and a heavy dusting this morning. All right. Well, that really, folks, is just about it. Like I said, I felt like, well, maybe I should just do something tonight in lieu of the fact that we didn't have a Joe and Joe tonight, just to come on, touch base with all of you and say hello. And I'm not sure about the weekend. I do know that at 11 o'clock on Sunday morning, we will have Joe Chaffee and I will have the Sunday morning version of Joe and Joe. So bring your coffee, a cup of coffee and tea, and we'll chat. I have a very good feeling that we're not going to be able to talk about very much in terms of any wintry weather. We'll probably be talking about the unseasonable warmth that's coming our way for the beginning of next week. Just want to remind all of you, if you have not already done so, and I know that probably most of the people who are on the chat board tonight are probably, at least I would hope that you are probably subscribers to Joe Rayo Weather on YouTube. If you're not, please do so. We're trying to move our way upwards in the 1,000 plus subscription department. We've got about 640 or 50 loyal followers here. And if you know anybody who is not a subscriber, pass the word along. Tell them to subscribe to Joe Rayo Weather on YouTube. And let's see, a few more words here from Tim Veltman, who says that my Uncle Bobby lived in Gloucester. He was friends with David Sullivan's family, one of the men on the Andrea Gale. Oh, my goodness. So yeah, six degrees of separation, right, Tim? Somebody actually, you actually knew somebody who knew somebody on that ship, the Andrea Gale, that was featured in The Perfect Storm. Looks like no snow for the next week, maybe the second week of March. Don't hold your breath, Bobby Livingsworth. It looks like we're going to stay rather mild, relatively speaking, for a while, maybe taking us through the first 10 or 15 days of March, and who knows, maybe taking us right through the entire month of March. In Albany, Tim Beltman says we got clipped last night by the Lake Erie band of snow. One time, I live in Putnam Valley. One time, we had a very thin ribbon of lake effect snow extending southeast from Lake Ontario, came all the way down and right into my neck of the woods. I was getting, heavy snow. It was crazy. It was kind of like wavering back and forth. And I was saying to myself, my goodness, if this stays with me, or stays with us for much of the night, I'm going to end up with a ton of snow in the morning. But thankfully, the thing just kind of wavered away and kind of broke up. So we did not see much more than a few inches. But that was an interesting scenario. Actually getting a lake effect snow band extending all the way directly south and east from Lake Ontario. That was a really wild event. There might be something next weekend, says Jaylon Perry. I'll tell you what, Jaylon, that's 7 days away. And I know all winter long, all the snow lovers have been looking at the mid and long range weather models beyond, let's say, 5 days and seeing stuff that suggests that we might see some significant snow or possible snow beyond 5 days. May I tell you now, don't hang your hat on it and don't hold your breath, because in most cases, all of these events have pretty much fallen apart. We'll come back here next week and I'll remind you, Jaylon Perry, about what you were looking at tonight, and maybe saying that we might see some kind of significant or possible snow here. I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't think it is going to happen. Keith James is on. Good evening to you, James from Keith James from Paramus, New Jersey. And Jaylon Perry says, "Yeah, I know it's not going to happen. Probably not. But I'll tell you what. If you keep watching, either me or Joe, or the two of us on Joe and Joe, we will let you know if there's any slight crack or opening that we see for possibly suggesting that there might be a protracted spell of cold and or snow in our foreseeable future. We will let you know. But right now, after we get past this weekend, boom, straight up are the temperatures going for early next week to well above normal conditions. With the lack of snow this winter, says Keith James, will that result in potential drought issues later this spring and summer? I don't know about that necessarily. We had some pretty good rains here yesterday morning. As long as we get rain, it doesn't necessarily have to be snow for you to worry about drought conditions, although I know that snow is something that you want to see, the meltdown effect. But hey, upstate New York have had their fair share of the white stuff. So if there's going to, I can't make a judgment call on that as to whether or not we'll have a drought. Although, as I said earlier, some of the long-range probabilities are that dry weather will be settling in the middle and latter part of March. This according to the Climate Prediction Center, NOAA's Climate Prediction Center. So anyway, I think I'm going to close it down right now at 8, coming up on 8:23. Again, I hope that you'll all be with us on Sunday morning for Joe and Joe. Again, it's just a last-minute thing for me, to come on and to go solo this evening. But we will see you on Sunday morning, we being Joe Chiaffi and I, on the Joe and Joe Morning Show. Looking forward to seeing all of you back there then on his YouTube channel. Again, if you're not already a subscriber to mine, Joe Rayo Weather here on YouTube, please subscribe and please spread the word and please tell everybody all about it. By the way, sometimes Joe and I, we do a little bit of TV, give you an idea of what's on TV tonight. In case you're in a Christmassy mood, in about 7 minutes on MeTV, the first season of the Andy Griffith Show in black and white, glorious black and white, will be running the episode about the Christmas Eve episode with Old Ben, the crotchety old Scrooge-like storekeeper who didn't want anybody to celebrate Christmas. He wanted to throw a bootlegger in Andy's jail on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, but Sheriff Andy decided he'd have a Christmas party in the jailhouse for Christmas Day. The storekeeper didn't like it, And eventually we find out that the storekeeper actually, it's kind of like a, if you're, if you like to read any literature about O. Henry, O. Henry used to like to write these stories with kind of a twist at the end. And there was one particular story he wrote called The Cop and the Anthem, where this guy wanted to actually break a law and get into jail. And he kept trying and trying. And every time he kept trying to break a law, it seemed like something went the other way or kept him from getting into jail. And finally, toward the end of the story, he said to himself, maybe this is a signal that maybe I should change my ways and become a not be a lawbreaker, not try to get into jail. Maybe I'll may have a straightforward, clean life and not have to, attempt to break any laws. And at that point, a cop comes along and says, "Hey, what are you doing standing here? That's loitering. Come with me. I'm throwing you in jail." That the story of the Andy Griffith Show, the Christmas story, it's going to be on Me TV in about 5 minutes, has kind of a little twist like that along the lines of that story by O. Henry, The Cop and the Anthem. So anyway, for all of you, I hope you have a good rest of the rest of your TGIF, the rest of your Friday night. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope to see you again with Joe Chiappi on his YouTube channel on Sunday morning. And until then, I want to wish all of you a very, very happy Friday night and a very good weekend. Let's see. Enjoy black tea, Joe. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. In fact, I'm going to have some tea in just a couple of minutes once I shut down here. So enjoy tonight, and we'll see you again on Sunday morning. You make it a good Friday, and you make it a great weekend.